Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the Soviet Tier 10 Tech Tree medium tank, the Object 430. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, before we get into the 430, today, the release day of this video, there is going to be the stream for Extra Life on the Wargaming channel. On the Wargaming Twitch channel, that is, which is obviously for charity. I'll be streaming on there from 2 till 4 UTC. There's going to be a whole host of other people streaming on there for charity as well, all for a good cause, naturally. Go check that out on the Twitch channel. It starts at 12 UTC, where you can go check out all the people playing, having some fun, and then obviously doing it all for charity as well, which is always a great time. So yeah, go check that out. Like I say, 2 o'clock for me till 4. We're just going to be playing around, probably playing tanks that people request in chat, and just seeing what fun we can get into. I know I'm going to get the Bayer requested. I know the Bayer is going to be requested. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. So yeah, into the actual video. The 430 is a Soviet Tier 10 medium tank. It's a tank with 2 different guns. It's got this 122mm gun you're seeing here, and the 100mm gun that is a typical staple of the Soviet Tier 10 medium tanks. So this video is going to cover the 2 games with the 122, because to be honest, the 100mm on this tank isn't that great. And it's all because it's worse than the T62A or the 140 in terms of its accuracy and stuff like that, which can be super frustrating compared to those tanks. And you gain a little bit of DPM, which even then you can get the same DPM out of this 122, which has 390 alpha, and it's just a lot nicer. It gives the tank an identity. That's what I'm trying to say. This 122mm gun gives this tank an identity, because if you want to play a 100mm gun for the Soviet mediums, you just go play the 140 or the T62A. And if you want to play the 122mm gun, you can pick this tank to have that high DPM that you get off the 100mm, but it's a slightly derpier gun, but also you have the higher alpha, and that is a nice thing for the tank. I know people do compare and say, well, you got the 430 with 390 alpha, 122. What about the 430U? Well, the 430U is a different kind of tank, because this plays very similarly to the T62A and the 140, as opposed to the 430U, which is a more brawly heavy tank. Sorry, brawly medium tank, not heavy tank. It plays more like a heavy tank than a medium tank, because it's got that armor and a similar 122mm gun, but it's got 440 naturally, and some slightly better penetration and premium rounds. But it gains the armor, loses a bit of the mobility that this vehicle will have, and the camo as well, because this tank is actually pretty stealthy. What this tank is actually quite like is the 121, the Chinese Tier 10 Tech Tree medium tank. And to be honest, this tank probably actually invalidates the 121 a little bit, because you've got that gun, which is slightly more accurate on the 121, to be fair, with the 0.34 accuracy, but this tank gets 0.38. But the thing is, the DPM. They play very, very similarly, but the DPM is just that much better on the Object 430 than the 121, because the 121 has 3.1k DPM. This tank has 3.4, nearly 3.5k DPM. So the DPM is just that much better. And they've got fairly similar mobility and all that stuff as well. So the 430, it's got a 55 km/h top speed, 20 km/h reverse speed, 580 horsepower engine, which is 16.53 horsepower per ton ratio. So you do generally get up to that top speed fairly easily, and with great ground resistances at 1.53, 0.67 and 0.58, this tank is really nice with its mobility indeed. It does get there pretty easily. It's got a 10% internal fire chance, which is on the low end of fire chances. Lie. Absolute lie. If this thing gets penned in the upper plate, it likes to burn. So that can be a royal pain for the Object 430. 52 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed means this tank does turn very, very quickly on its tracks, and it's a very nimble tank indeed in terms of that track traverse. And the turret traverse is 41.72 degrees a second, which is a lot slower, and you will feel that with the track traverse and the turret traverse, that the turret really struggles to keep up with the tracks. 291 meters of still concealment is pretty nice though for the 430, and that means you can stay stealth in bushes pretty easily when you are stationary. But the on the move concealment is 322, which is still not actually that terrible, if we're honest, for this vehicle. It's not as good as the still concealment naturally, but it helps this tank to be a fairly stealthy medium tank when using bush concealment effectively. 489 meters of view range as well is also very, very nice for the vehicle, meaning that you can spot for yourself really, really well as well in the Object 430. You got 1.42 accuracy during rotation with a 2.14 accuracy during movement, which isn't great, and it means the aim circle does bloom out quite a bit in the Object 430, and that can be a royal pain, as you do have 2.4 second aim time as well, which, as you can see, means you've got to sit and wait for it to get it aimed in. And then you've got 0.38 accuracy at 100 meters as well, which means it's not the most accurate gun in the universe. It's fairly derpy in terms of it's getting towards that 0.4 region, which is very derpy. And it does like missing shots, which is where the 121 gun is a little bit better because it has 0.34. But yeah, it's a pretty derpy gun. It takes a wee while to get it aimed in, and that can be a frustration, especially with how fast you're firing. It can feel like you're firing really fast but missing quite a few shots because you rush shots just because of how fast you fire, because that DPM is so good. You've also got 5 degrees of gun depression, by the way, which is a Soviet tank, or Soviet-esque tank problem, and it means you're very limited in terms of your gun depression. You've got to be very careful about the positions you take on ridge lines in how you're going to be able to get your gun up. By the way, you're seeing here the difference between using different sets of bushes. I tried to get up on top of the ridge line. I didn't even get into the bush there before I got spotted, whereas if I poked up in the bush on the right-hand side, they couldn't see me. Differences in where people are to spot and where the bushes are. It's very dependent on where you decide to take and use bush cover as to how you're going to get the most out of it. But yeah, 0.38 is fairly inaccurate and can be a royal pain. You've got 6.74 second reload, which is 3.4k DPM, nearly 3.5k DPM, because it's 3,471 DPM, which is really good in this day and age, and it's fantastic DPM, and it can shred so quickly. You really can shred so quickly in this vehicle when something gets into your gun line. That was a poor shot, by the way. That wasn't the gun. We should have led that better. You've got 246 penetration on the standard AP, which is definitely a little bit low for a tier 10 at this point. 246 can be a bit low and can lead to not penning shots that you might expect to pen with other guns, like with 258. So as you saw on the 705A lower plate earlier on, we actually bounced a shot with the AP rounds, and then we took a hit for it. If we'd loaded the APCR rounds that have 311 penetration, we would not have bounced that round. If we were playing a 121 or something like that, we probably wouldn't have bounced that round with an AP round. So yeah, the AP round can be a bit of a pain with the lower pen, but the 311 pen APCR round is still good enough to go through most vehicles. 65mm of pen on the HE is also pretty decent for going through the lightly armoured tanks like artillery, upping that DPM even more with the 530 Alpha. 920 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP as well is, again, below average, can be a bit derpy. You've got to really give a lot of lead at distance to be able to hit your targets. Make sure you give the adequate amount of lead with this vehicle to be able to hit your shots, as they tend to loop a bit. 1,150 meters a second shell velocity on the premium APCR is, again, it's a little bit better, and it does make the gun handling feel a little bit better, but it's still not fantastic velocity, but it's good enough. It's above average, which is nice for the vehicle indeed. And yeah, it means you still have to give a decent amount of lead distance to be able to hit your targets with this 430, which is where the difference is for the 100mm, because the 100mm has 0.36 accuracy, so it's more accurate than the 122. It's got 1535 meters a second shell velocity on the standard APCR with 264 pen, which doesn't struggle with most vehicles, and you got 330 heat pen, which is beautiful as well. So the 100mm gun can be a lot better with the penetration stuff. I just feel like this gun gives this tank an identity. So what do I run in terms of crew and equipment? Well, as you can see there, we run Born Leader, Situational Awareness, Camouflage Expertise, Green Thumb, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Radio Jamming, Comms Expert, and Expert Gunner, with the Advanced Loader, the Gun Stabilizer, Optics, the Improved Concealment. Improved Concealment with the Camo Expertise and the Green Thumb to make the camouflage in this tank as good as possible and get it down to that 291 meters of still concealment and just have better camo in a bush. Helps to keep unspotted, which can be handy for this tank to get good assistance damage, like you've seen in this game. Gun Stabilizer with the Snapshot and Run and Gun, naturally again, because as you've seen, the accuracy during rotation and movement is poor, so we want to help that out as much as humanly possible. Radio Jamming to get unspotted as quickly as possible, so like you've seen in this game, we can pull back, get unspotted, and reposition easier with Comms Expert to be able to keep things lit up for that extra amount of time as we make a mistake there and poke out a little bit too much for the STB1 to be able to actually shoot at us, which is pure pain. Optics be able to get the view range at 489, by the way, as we finish that game with the first class, the 15 to 17 base XP for 5k damage, 4.4k assist, that's 9.5k combined. Really great game there for the 430. But yeah, we run the optics to get that 489 meters of view range with the situational awareness so that we can spot our targets, use the great camo, we can spot things at further distances before they spot us, and you can have great assistance games like that on Proc or Grim Graveyard, as you saw there, but Proc, Mali, all that sort of stuff. You can end up staying unspotted easier on those kinds of maps, and then also be able to spot out easier too, which can be handy for the 430 as well. And then get yourselves into those positions where you can farm really hard too, because this 122mm gun is so good at farming that if you manage to aim the shots and get them fired, it's just glorious. It really is. It's one of those things that is very, very nice about this tank, and it gave it a new identity when they added this 122mm gun, because it never used to be a thing. It only ever used to have the standard 100mm gun, which after they made buffs to the 140 and the T62A and then never buffed this thing's 100mm gun, it just meant that all the advantages that this thing had, because this thing was always the more inaccurate version of those two tanks, but it had way better, or yeah, it did have way better DPM than those tanks. But then they buffed the DPM and the accuracy and stuff like that on those vehicles and left this one with the 100mm, and so it became irrelevant. This 122mm gun means it's not irrelevant anymore, and it hasn't been for a while. It's just a different playstyle of the tank that can be very nice and rewarding to get the most out of. So we're here on this second replay, and this second replay, even after the first replay, which was a first class, we managed to get 9.5k combined. That was a really nice game, but we made quite a few mistakes in that in terms of losing hit points, which ended up screwing us over. And also I was a bit surprised when I got penned by the Projecto 66 in the top of the turret, but it can happen because the turret on this vehicle is not infallible like the T62A, and it can be one that can get penned quite easily through the cupolas, so you do have to be careful of that. But we're on this second replay here on Steps, which is one of my favourite maps, and we're up to 1600 damage so far with 2.3k assistance. We pushed very, very aggressively. Why? Because I pushed to G8, didn't really get spotted, poked round the corner, didn't see anyone, went okay. Saw the T30 when we killed him and went, well, he seemed to be the only one here. No one else really got spotted. Let's just push aggressively, because we were playing on stream at this time as well. This is a game we played live, and was like, okay, Let's push aggressively, see if we can catch out their team. And that's what we've done. Their team seemed to have pushed quite aggressively as we bounced there off a T249. Pain. But yeah, we pushed aggressively because it's like, okay, their team's pushed aggressively towards the 1-2 line. Let's see if we can wrap around as quickly as possible, get as much damage in before they manage to get towards our cap. So we load APCR, because 311mm of penetration on the APCR should go through this guy's superstructure, which it does, because that thing has got pretty solid superstructure armor. But the thing is, it's completely flat, so it's quite easy to go through. But he's firing the premium as well, and he goes straight through the turret front there, which is not surprising because he has very, very good penetration. But the Hurry one ends up getting shut down, so we're going to now go around the other side to go after this STB1 that is at K4. And we don't want to go straight down towards the enemy team through the other way, because I didn't want to just start taking hits from the STB1 and get caught in a crossfire. So I wanted to get rid of the crossfire and then progress on towards the other tanks that are behind at F2 in that little area. So we see the Super Conqueror, we get the shot on the move, which don't expect that to happen all the time. This vehicle is derpy, so if you take those sorts of shots, which we are getting fortunate in this game, and I said it on stream, I was like, what is happening with, because I said when we started this game that this gun is very derpy and at times it can be a real pain, but we're just hitting all of the shots. So this is when the stars line and the shots flying and you go, yes, this is great. Although it helps when the enemy team do make shots easy as well, like Mr. Super Conqueror there. So we've still got the Leopard on the left, which we want to get rid of before we go after Mr. Type 5 Heavy, but we've loaded the premium rounds for Mr. Type 5 Heavy. The Leopard one is giving us his ass, so we're going to make sure to try and get a shot in there before we go after him, because again, I don't want to take too many hits. We get fairly fortunate there that Mr. Type 5 Heavy actually missed us. I think he missed us. A shot flew past us, so maybe he used his multi-weapon system. But he ends up firing, and this is where we've loaded premium, and Mr. Type 5 Heavy is going to learn the fate of all Japanese heavy tanks, and that is that premium rounds really do suck. And we're just going to absolutely butcher this poor Type 5 Heavy's armor, as he's fired once, right? We've damaged his ammo rack twice, because his ammo rack is in those cheeks. And so we've damaged his ammo rack twice. We've managed to put in quite a few shots into him, and for his one shot, we took most of his hit points. Because again, the DPM on this tank is so phenomenal. It is pure filth when you do get this tank going. So we're up to 6,200 damage with 2.5k assist. I could go for that cupola shot on the Arachnid. I'm not going to, because the cupola doesn't exist on the Arachnid. It's just there visually, not actually in the model. So we're going for that tracking shot, and we get the track and the pen there, but sadly for us, he actually repairs it, which means we don't get quite the assistance we wanted. The E4's looking for a shot at us, but in fact he fires at someone else. We go over, try and get the kill here on Mr. Arachnid, which we do. Someone else actually gets the tracking shot, but that was my next plan. With the E4 now tracked in front of us, we get the retrack there, so it's easier for our team to be able to finish him off, and the E4 gets shut down, putting us on to that 7,200 damage, 2.5k assistance. Again, we're up to above 9.5k combined, so a really great game here for the Object 430 on Steps. One tank left, Mr. T249 Black. Can we get rid of the pest here as we aim up, wait for him to drive around that corner, and fire the moment there's a rock in the way? Great shot, mate. Great shot. Well played. Why is it always when you go, aha, I'm leading the target, in the moment you pull the trigger, there's a rock in the way? That happens so often. But we managed to snap the shot there into the T249 Black to finish the game there with a kill. We'll take it. As we finish the victory with the 4 kills, 7.3k damage, 2.5k assistance, the Ace Tanker, the High Caliber, the Confederate Medal, with the 1885 base XP. A really great game there for the Object 430, which, like I say, with this 122mm gun, gives it that bit of identity for it. And yeah, like I say, don't forget, today, 2 o'clock UTC, I will be streaming on the, or 2 PM UTC, I'll be streaming on the Wargaming Twitch channel for Extra Life. Whole host of other people streaming as well. Go check it out and participate, you know, for charity. It's all for charity, people. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!